For over 100 years, magicians have been sawing people in half on stage. And for over 100 years, audiences have been asking the same question: how? How does the assistant survive? Where do the legs go? Why doesn't blood pour out everywhere? Is it camera tricks? Is it twins? Is there some kind of secret trapdoor? Well, today, I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. Not just one method, not just the basic version. I'm going to break down 3 different sawing illusions that have fooled millions of people. And by the end of this video, you're going to see magic in a completely different way. Because here's the secret nobody tells you. The trick isn't what you think it is. The real illusion isn't the sawing. It's everything that happens before the saw touches the box. Stick with me because what you're about to learn will blow your mind. Let's go back to where it all started. 1921. London, England. A magician named P.T. Selbit steps onto the stage of the Finsbury Park Empire. He's got a wooden crate, a saw, and a young woman named Betty Barker, who's about to make history. Selbit announces to the audience, "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you will witness something that has never been done before. I am going to saw a woman in half." The audience gasps. Remember, this is 1921. There's no CGI, no camera tricks in live theater, no fancy video editing. Whatever they're about to see is happening right in front of them. Betty climbs into the wooden crate. Her head sticks out one end, her feet stick out the other. Selbit and his assistants rope off the box, tying it with thick ropes that the audience can see. Then he takes a massive 2-person saw, the kind you'd use to cut down a tree, and begins sawing right through the middle of the crate. The audience can hear the saw cutting through wood. They can see sawdust falling to the stage. And then Selbit separates the 2 halves of the box, pulls them apart. You can see the gap between them. Betty's head is still visible in one box. Her feet are still moving in the other box, but there's nothing connecting them, just empty space. The audience goes absolutely insane. Women are fainting, men are shouting. Some people genuinely believe they just watched a woman get cut in half. Selbit reverses the process, pushes the boxes back together, opens the crate. Betty steps out, completely unharmed, not a scratch on her. The theater erupts in applause. Within weeks, every magician in the world wants to do this trick. It becomes the most copied illusion in magic history. But here's what's wild. P.T. Selbit's method was actually one of the simplest versions. And over the next 100 years, magicians would take this basic concept and evolve it into dozens of different variations, each one more impossible looking than the last. Let me show you 3 of the most famous methods. Method 1, the classic Selbit method, the original sawing. Okay, here's how P.T. Selbit did it in 1921. And honestly, it's so simple you're going to laugh. The assistant, let's call her the magician's partner because that's what she really is, climbs into a long rectangular box. Her head comes out one end, her feet come out the other end. But here's the secret. The box is much longer than it needs to be. When the assistant climbs in, she doesn't lie straight. She curls her legs up toward her chest. Her knees are bent. Her whole body is actually in the head half of the box. So whose feet are sticking out the other end? A second assistant, hidden inside a secret compartment in the table that the box sits on. This second person slides their feet up through a hole in the bottom of the box and out through the holes at the end. When the magician saws through the middle, he's sawing through empty space. There's nobody in that section of the box. The real assistant is safe in the top half. The fake feet belong to someone else entirely. When he separates the 2 halves and pulls them apart, you're seeing the real assistant's head in one box and a completely different person's feet in the other box. That's why Selbit used ropes to tie up the box. The ropes created visual confusion. They made it harder to see the exact dimensions of the box. They made the whole thing look more restrictive and impossible. It worked because audiences in 1921 had never seen anything like it. The idea of sawing someone in half was so shocking that they didn't think to question the logistics. But other magicians saw it and immediately thought, we can do better than that. Method 2. The thin model sawing, making it visual. The problem with Selbit's version was that you couldn't really see the sawing clearly. The box was big and bulky. The ropes covered things up. It was effective, but not as visual as it could be. In the 1960s and 70s, magicians started using a different method that's way more visual and way more impossible looking. This is the version you've probably seen on TV. The assistant lies down in a clear box or a very thin box. so thin that it looks impossible for anyone to hide or curl up inside. You can see her entire body stretched out. Her head is visible. Her hands are visible, waving at the audience. Her feet are visible and moving. The magician takes a giant buzzsaw, sometimes multiple blades, and literally saws right through the middle of her body. You see the blade going through. Sometimes there's even fake blood for dramatic effect. Then, and this is the part that makes it look really impossible, the magician separates the two halves of the table and rolls them apart.
Allora facciamo così, però adesso devo fare delle domande. Perciò, scusami, puoi aspettare?
Mi metti a posto!
Un attimo, dobbiamo fare un gioco, fermo.
There's a visible gap between the upper body and lower body. Sometimes he'll even walk through that gap or pass a hoop through it to prove there's nothing connecting the two halves. So how is this possible? The secret is that the assistant is incredibly flexible, and I mean incredibly. When the assistant lies down in that thin box, she's actually a contortionist. As soon as the box closes or the saw starts moving, she pulls her legs up and to the side in a way that looks physically impossible. Her entire body, including her legs, fits into the top half of the box. Her legs are bent at extreme angles and tucked beside her torso. But wait, you're saying, I can see the feet moving in the bottom box. You're right, you can, but those aren't her real feet. In the bottom half of the table there are fake feet, mechanical feet that can wiggle and move, controlled by either the magician using a hidden lever or sometimes by the assistant herself using her hands to pull hidden strings. Penn and Teller actually revealed this method on their TV show. They showed a clear box with a contortionist inside, and you could see her bending her body in ways that looked anatomically impossible. The key to selling this illusion is the magician's presentation. He draws attention to the feet. Look, she's wiggling her toes. He asks her to wave from the top box. Everything is designed to make you believe both halves contain parts of the same person. But they don't. The top box contains a contorted human. The bottom box contains mechanical props. When the boxes are separated and rolled apart, you're seeing the gap, but you're also seeing the magician carefully position himself to block certain angles. The staging is crucial. This method revolutionized the sawing illusion because it looked so much more impossible than Selbit's original version. The thin box, the visible sawing, the separation. It was visual magic at its finest, but magicians still weren't satisfied. They wanted to go even further. Method 3, the chainsaw death saw, the most brutal version. Now we get to the version that looks absolutely insane. This is the one where it genuinely looks like the magician is committing murder on stage. David Copperfield made this version famous in the 1980s and 90s. Other magicians like Hans Klock and Chris Angel have done variations of it. Here's how it looks. The assistant is lying on a table, sometimes not even in a box, just on an open table. The magician takes a real chainsaw. You can hear it running, you can see the chain moving, and he literally saws right through the assistant's midsection. There's fake blood spraying everywhere. The assistant is screaming. The audience is horrified. It looks like an actual murder. Then the magician separates the two halves of the body, and I mean really separates them. Sometimes he'll lift the legs completely away from the torso. Sometimes he'll turn the lower half around 180 degrees so the feet are pointing the wrong direction. Sometimes he'll swap the lower halves between two different assistants. This version looks so impossible that people have accused magicians of using camera tricks even when it's performed live on stage. So what's the secret? It's all about the table. The table the assistant lies on is specially constructed with a hidden compartment underneath. When the assistant lies down, she's actually lying on a false top that's only about 4 to 5 inches thick. As soon as the magician starts the dramatic build-up, revving the chainsaw, showing it to the audience, the assistant is sliding her lower body down through a trapdoor in that false top and into the hidden compartment below. Her legs fold up underneath the table in a concealed space. Meanwhile, a set of fake legs, incredibly realistic prosthetic legs, are simultaneously rising up through another opening to replace her real legs. These fake legs are good. They have realistic skin texture. They can be positioned to look natural. Some versions even have mechanisms that make them twitch or move slightly. When the chainsaw cuts through the middle, it's cutting through the gap between the real upper body and the fake lower body. The blood is just colored liquid stored in hidden tubes that spray out for effect. When the magician separates the two halves, he's literally pulling the fake legs away from the real person. The assistant's real legs are safely hidden in the table compartment below. Here's the genius part. The magician will often spin the lower half around or move it to a completely different table. This makes it look even more impossible because you think, there's no way those could be fake legs, look how far away they are. But that's exactly why he moves them far away. It prevents you from comparing them too closely to the real upper body. When it's time to restore the assistant, the process reverses. The fake legs are brought back, the assistant slides her real legs back up through the trap door, the fake legs retract back into the table, and the assistant sits up completely whole. David Copperfield took this to another level by adding multiple tables and multiple assistants. He'd saw 3 women in half, then mix up their lower halves, putting blonde legs on a brunette, etc. It looked impossible, but it's all the same principle. Hidden compartments, fake prosthetics, masterful misdirection. Now, here's what's fascinating about all 3 of these methods. None of them actually involve sawing anyone in half, obviously, but the genius isn't in the mechanics, it's in the psychology. Magicians spend decades perfecting the art of making you look where they want you to look and believe what they want you to believe. In the Selbit method, the ropes and the size of the box create the illusion of restriction. You believe the assistant can't move or hide because the box looks so constrained. In the thin model method, the thinness of the box and the visible separation create the illusion of impossibility. You believe there's no room to hide because you can see through parts of it. In the death saw method, the violence and drama create emotional overwhelm. You're so shocked by what you're seeing that you don't analyze the logistics. Your brain is too busy going, "Oh my God, is this real?" That's the real trick. Not the tables or the fake legs or the contortions. The real trick is manipulating your perception, and this trick is still being performed and evolved today. Penn and Teller, who are famous for exposing magic while simultaneously making it even more amazing, do a version where they show you exactly how it's done, and it's still incredible to watch. They use clear boxes so you can literally see the contortionist bending herself into impossible positions. They show the fake feet being placed. They explain every step. And somehow, it's still magical, because watching a human body bend that way is its own kind of impossible. Chris Angel did a street magic version in the early 2000s where he appeared to saw a random woman from the audience in half on the sidewalk with no box at all. Just a board. The secret there? Camera angles and planted random audience members. When you see it from the TV camera's perspective, it looks impossible. But if you were standing in a different position on that street, you'd see the gaps and the tricks. That's why street magic often relies heavily on camera positioning. And then there's the AGT, America's Got Talent. Performers who combine sawing illusions with dance, with comedy, with storytelling. They're taking this century-old trick and giving it new life. The core methods are still the same. Hidden compartments, fake prosthetics, contortion, misdirection, but the presentation keeps evolving. So now you know. You know how magicians saw people in half, you know the mechanics, you know the secrets. But here's the question, does knowing ruin the magic? I don't think so. I think it makes it more impressive, because now you understand the work that goes into creating the illusion, the engineering, the practice, the psychology, the performance skill, that contortionist who can bend herself into the top half of a thin box. She trained for years to develop that flexibility. That's not magic, that's dedication. The craftspeople who build those tables with hidden compartments that can withstand the weight of a person while looking completely normal, that's engineering genius. The magician who can control your attention so precisely that you never notice the switch between real and fake legs, that's a master performer. Magic isn't about lying to people, it's about creating a moment of wonder, a moment where your brain goes, "Wait, that's not possible," even though logically you know it has to be possible. And the sawing illusion, in all its variations, has been creating that moment for over 100 years. Let me give you a few more insider details that most people don't know. Detail 1. The assistants are the real stars. When you watch a sawing illusion, you're focused on the magician, but the person doing the actual hard work, the assistant, they're contorting their body in painful positions, they're staying perfectly still for minutes at a time, they're controlling their breathing so you can't see any movement, they're often working levers and mechanisms from inside the box. The assistant is half magician, half athlete, half actor. Yes, that's 3 halves, that's the magic. Detail 2. Safety is paramount. Modern sawing illusions have multiple safety features: emergency releases, panic buttons, oxygen supplies in case the assistant gets stuck. Professional magicians don't take risks with their assistants' lives. The saw might look dangerous, but is never actually close to the real person. Insurance companies wouldn't allow it otherwise. Detail 3. The expensive part isn't what you think. A basic sawing illusion table can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $50,000 depending on the complexity. But you know what's more expensive? The fake legs. High-quality prosthetic legs that look real under stage lights can cost $10,000 to $20,000 per pair because they need to look perfect from every angle. They need to match the assistant's skin tone. They need to move realistically. That's where the real money goes. So there you have it, the secret to one of magic's most famous illusions. 3 different methods, 100 years of evolution, and thousands of performances that have made audiences gasp in horror and applaud in amazement. If you enjoyed learning the secrets behind this classic trick, smash that subscribe button right now, because next week I'm revealing how magicians make the Statue of Liberty disappear. And trust me, the method is even crazier than you think. Drop a comment and tell me, did knowing the secret ruin the magic for you, or does it make you appreciate it more? I want to hear your honest thoughts. Hit that like button if you want more magic secrets revealed. And remember, the best tricks aren't about fooling people, they're about creating moments of impossible wonder. See you in the next one.